Hello, hello, hello. Okay, that's it. We are here with the Gruesomes at this new edition, new season for the Startalado. Um, and we are very excited to be here with the Gruesomes. This sorry, that's from.
Do you usually do it in Spanish or?
Sí, sí, sí.
Oh,
digo,
do it in Spanish.
es-
Do it in Spanish.
Para
Hazlo en
probar,
español.
Porfa.
pero ok,
Hazlo en español.
intentaré hacerlo
A veces
en inglés, pero
un poco inglés si
Ajá,
quieres, pero hazlo
y
en
un poco en
español.
español. Ok. Empezamos, nueva temporada de Startalado aquí con los Gruesomes. Y pues nada, estamos muy emocionados de tenerlos aquí en esta nueva emisión, en esta nueva temporada de Startalado. Y pues, ¿qué tal, chicos? ¿Cómo están? How are you?
Muy
Muy
bien.
bien.
Muy bien.
Muchas
How was
gracias.
your trip to Mexico City?
Fácil.
Muy bien, fantástico, muy fácil a llegar aquí, seguro.
Es como una vuelta directo de
Sí.
5 horas de Montreal. Sin
Ok.
problemas.
Y por ahí me dijeron que hicieron algo de turismo, visitaron la Casa Azul.
Sí, me encantó mucho, era extraordinario. Hace años que yo quise ir a ver eso y fui hoy a la Casa Azul.
Perfecto. Pues bienvenidos a México, bienvenidos a Destartalado.
Gracias.
Ya, gracias.
Gracias también ahí a Born to Be Cheap, a Matt, a Denepa por traerlos acá. Y pues nada, estamos acá con Jerry,
Sí,
guitarrista.
sí, hola, sí, yo Jerry.
Estamos con John
Sí,
Davis,
sí, exactamente. El bajo.
bass player.
Sí.
Okay, Bobby,
Bobby.
vocalist,
Mhm.
and
Guitarra,
guitar,
harmonica.
harmonica, great. And with
Y
John.
otro John, baterista.
Ok, perfecto, pues bienvenidos, vamos un poco pues al inicio. Sus influencias, además del besides garage punk and 60s garage punk and punk from the 70s, what kind of music, what other types of music or genres you like it?
Ok, no influencia por el
Sí, sí, sí,
Ok.
¿cuál, además de...
A mí me encanta Boogaloo, la música latina
Ok.
Boogaloo de los años 60 y jazz también como Blue Note mucho y soul, rhythm and blues de los años 60 y 70, garage.
Claro, claro.
Jerry es nuestro miembro lo más psicodélico.
Sí, a mí me gusta más la música psychedelic rock, precisamente más de Inglaterra en los años 60.
Freak Beat se llama Freak
Freak
Beat.
Beat,
Sí.
ok.
Psychedelic, ya.
Grupos como Tomorrow,
Tomorrow,
The
The
Creation,
Okay.
Pink Floyd, el primer
Right.
disco de Pink Floyd.
Sí.
Like the British garage can be
Mhm.
free beat, or
Exactly.
a little psychedelic.
Sí.
And you, Bobby, your influences.
Personally,
Yeah.
Yes,
or-
yes.
Yeah.
it started with punk, and then mod music.
Okay.
The Jam, the Chords, the Purple Hearts, Secret Affair, these famous mod bands, and when you listen to that, you think this music is good, but it is influenced by something else. And then you listen to the bands that influence that music,
Of course.
and you end up only listening to 60s music and that.
Yeah, but Bobby especially likes the frat rock.
Early
60s. 61, 62.
Yeah, the best year, 62, before garage even.
Okay,
We love.
like TT Shakers and that
The-
kind of thing.
No,
The
now that's a little bit-
rhythm and blues.
The Kingsmen,
Yeah, exactly.
Kingsmen.
like the Sonics.
Okay.
We have a group called Fuad and the Festones that play only frat rock, and we say we play our music from early 61 to late 61.
Primarily American rhythm and blues of the period before the Beatles.
Great.
And this is a beautiful period of music, but of course the Gruesomes music is after the Beatles very much.
Yeah, and John, what kind of
Oh,
music
much
do you like?
the same. Chicago blues, chess records, a lot of love surf music, surf instrumentals, Dick Dale, Ventures,
Okay, good.
all of that stuff.
Great. And how did you introduce to that kind of music? Who was that you discovered that kind of music?
Right. Wow.
Bobby and I se conocí, no, we met
Sí.
when we were 12 años, a 12 años en
Okay.
secundario. Y somos nerds que tocan
Dungeons
Dungeons and
and
Dragons. Okay.
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, I tenía amigos como hermanos más viejos,
Ajá, más grandes.
más grandes.
Amigos.
Ellos
Ajá.
tienen los discos de Clash y todo eso. So we
Okay.
heard the music through our friends' older brothers and stuff.
Ah, okay.
So we first music, Dan, Clash, Buzzcocks,
Undertones.
Undertones, Stiff Little Fingers,
Okay.
The Jam a lot. We liked.
Then mod music.
Then the Count Five with Psychotic Reaction
Yeah.
for me. I mean,
Right.
that changed everything.
Right. Then garage.
Then Garage.
Garage.
Yeah.
So through punk music, did you?
Yeah, it's an important question, eh?
It's
Yeah.
punk music to
Mod.
Uh,
To
mod.
mod.
I
and then
think-
and mod to garage. The Prisoners were the big group that switched from
Prisoners,
mod
yes.
to garage. All the people who were mod were, when the Prisoners started playing more garage, we were like, oh, what's going on? This is interesting.
Yes, yes. I think for that time there was like a kind of compilations albums with
Oh.
all that
Sure.
other
Yes.
stuff, no?
Yeah,
Garage, 60s garage.
Rockabilly Psychosis
Psychosis
and the Garage Disease.
Okay.
Is that the one you were going to
The Sonics and all kinds
Of course,
Mars
at that
Mayday.
time, because garage became interesting to other people besides collectors, yes, they would re-release garage music from the 60s with Back from the Grave and Pebbles
Okay,
and all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And that happened at the same time. So we had access to music that was only known by record collectors. And all of a sudden, garage music from the 60s could be heard by everybody. And that was very important too.
And what do you like it about this kind of music?
Easy to
Easy to play. We were
Play.
teenagers. Our first record, we were 19 when we recorded it.
You were
I
19.
was
You were 19.
He was the old one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eric
I
was
the old
60.
one.
El viejo.
Yeah, so we had all that background in music
Sí, mi hermano
exposure, and
tenía 16 años.
yeah, Eric was tenía 16 años en la batería.
We were terrible.
Y-
How do you say we were
y-
terrible in Spanish?
No éramos muy bueno, así que la música garaje era fácil. It was
De tocar.
easy. Yeah.
And funny. So bad it was funny. Like the
Yes,
guitar
yes.
solo would come in.
And you can say, that is terrible, and I can do that.
Okay, that's the key.
That's the
The
key.
solos were dirty and filthy, and it sounded great.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. And how the band start? How the band did start?
Yeah.
How the band
Well,
start? ¿Cómo comenzó el grupo?
En 1985.
85 is our first recording. I think in winter 84, that's when we got
En el
together.
sótano de
We had
la
different
casa
names.
de mi familia.
En
Okay.
su suelo, de su casa. Y teníamos otros nombres. Y luego caímos a The Gruesomes. Y luego empezamos a hacer parties and then small clubs in Montreal.
And we'd invite our friends to come to our basement and watch us play. And
Teenager party.
Teenagers. So we were really young.
We
and
have pictures. It's really cute.
I don't even think anybody was drinking alcohol.
No, we were too young to even drink.
éramos jóvenes.
Just little kids.
Jóvenes,
Okay.
jóvenes. Y ahí empezamos porque ya, sí, con los años
But
there was no master
Yeah.
plan or anything. Just
No.
when we started, we were very popular. Immediatamente popular.
Okay.
Because many people came to see us play because we were so terrible, so bad that it was funny.
Yes.
And we knew we were bad, so we would show we're terrible. This is awful, and it was funny, and do things that were not rock and roll showmanship, but were
we had our
Like-
look, right?
right. But, yep, and like for instance, talking too much, like too much. Like when are they going to play us? Yeah, like ordering a pizza and stopping the show so you could pay the guy on
And
stage
eat the pizza.
and eat the pizza. Hold on.
It was a little amateur.
Wait,
yes.
wait.
Okay, yes.
And people
Amateurs.
But I think what was important is we were the same age as our audience. We were all together, and we were young people against everybody else, these boomers and yuppies and people who above us who had a completely different worldview that we were living in. It was a young person's thinking also.
We were also very lucky because many young girls would come see us because we were like four good-looking young guys.
Yeah.
So we always had many good girls come to our see our
No, but more importantly, 4 guys who played the part of a sex symbol, like a 60s sex symbol thing, was like
Yes.
as
At the
a
garage
reference point.
Yeah, we went for that. We were one of the first in Canada to start with a garage sound and the look, and the image.
There was no
We were-
scene.
There was no scene.
We were really into the image, really into the gruesome, our image, the garage thing. We were really into it.
But we were at
We
this,
knew what we were doing.
at this
That was-
time we would be influenced by groups from like New York, like the Chesterfield Kings and the Fuzz Tones
And the Vipers.
and the Vipers and the Headless Horsemen and all these garage bands that were in New York City. And
Because
we-
that was
we
the
would-
closest garage scene to
Yeah.
Montreal. So those bands would play in Montreal.
and we would play in New York sometimes, and we became friends with some of them, like the Headless Horsemen were.
Well, Fuzz Tones, right?
Yeah, we played with Fuzz Tones.
So when you start the band, you didn't play anything
No!
on your instrument. So
We barely played at our first show.
Well, you see, garage music, you don't really have to be good. I mean,
Yes,
you
yes.
don't have to be professional, you know.
that's it. So how did you manage to start to write your songs? How did you approach to that first songs?
Okay, we used to try and play songs that we liked that were easy. So early songs we played, I Can Only Give You Everything by them, Gloria,
Get Off My
Get Off My
Cloud.
Cloud by the Rolling Stones, When the Night Falls by the Eyes. That's like real freak beat.
And the easiest, most typical standard garage, Yeah by the Alarm Clocks, Night of the Phantom by Larry and the Blue Notes, City of People by the Illusions.
We would just listen to the records and see if we could figure out how to play it.
And we could
And
because the
some-
records were so bad.
And many times we got it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. So and then years later we would go, I think that we don't play that song the right way.
So,
we go back
so,
and we
so,
listen.
so the reasons that many of our versions are different from the original is
Accident.
because we were bad and didn't know. We thought we had it right, but we made our own
But
version.
the reason we got good is because we practiced all the time, like 8 hours a day, like all the time. We were always practicing like one song for like 8 hours. Like my neighbors hated us.
Well, but I think that's good for a fan of the Gruesomes. He could kill
No,
for.
There were no fans of the
There
was no
Gruesomes.
fans.
There were no fans of the Gruesomes in John's neighborhood.
There still aren't.
Yeah.
They were all Gruesomes haters. I think.
And we still live in the same neighborhood. Like I live like 3 blocks away from that house.
Oh yeah.
Okay, and how did you start to recording your first songs?
Well, we were really important because we made a record in the 1980s. You could not make a record. It cost many thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to do this. So to have a record out made you really big. So we were lucky there was an underground label in our town that put out weird retro bands, and we were also a weird retro band. Some bands were kind of rockabilly, some were kind of jazzy, and we were like the 60s type band. So an independent label helped us put out our record.
Okay.
So that's it.
So your first song, I think it was from. It appears at some kind of compilation.
That's right.
It came from Canada, Volume 1.
Okay.
That we recorded in the basement where we practiced. So we wrote a song. We wanted it to sound like from Back from the Grave, like not like super distortion like on now, but like like a terrible song written by people who didn't know what they were doing,
Which we were.
which we did.
And we knew that the lyrics had to be, he's really mad at a girl, he's really mad at his girlfriend, and, oh, that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Yeah, I'm mad, go, get out of there and go bang there. That's it.
Okay, so your lyrics, what was the inspiration for
Trope.
your lyrics?
trying to copy back from the grave lyrics.
Copy what
That's
they
it.
say. Even though we had girlfriends and we're perfectly happy, these guys are mad at their girlfriends, so we're gonna
Yeah.
write that we're mad at them.
Yeah, like we're all.
It's
like,
not personal.
Yeah.
I've never told a girl that I don't want you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Like all of us, like we all had girlfriends, and we
Yeah.
no problems. And then you would look at the back of the records,
Get
and
out of my
they
way.
were so negative. The song titles, it's like, wow, these guys sound terrible. No, we're just normal
Yeah,
guys.
people have to understand we make art, right? We're not talking about our relationships in our songs.
Yeah, we never write songs about personal experience.
No, that'd be so boring.
That's for like artists. We write songs that are.
We are artisans. We have a style
Yeah,
of
we-
a period. They would say this is the best thing from that period. What about that? I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
It's not. We look to a genre to take
Yes, yes.
from, and the lyrics as well.
Okay.
So
I
we
mean,
write
okay.
lyrics.
A little bit of personal experience gets
But
in
they're
there.
secret.
A little bit, but
They're
it's
secret.
not. It's not like okay, like you're mad at your girlfriend you just broke up. You write a song. It's not. It's not. It's exactly the same as the other songs. You know?
Okay, well, that's interesting. It's
Is it?
another approach to
It is.
write songs.
It
well,
is. Well, we respect garage, and
yeah. I mean,
you don't want to hear my personal story in your song. You want to hear "Get out of here, baby, you're no good."
and also we're trying to copy a kind of lyrics and words and expressions that would be used in the 1960s. So like we find like sometimes like the fuzz tones and stuff for garage, it's more like the subject matter is more like Guns N' Roses or heavy metal, like very sexual aggressive.
Mhm.
People didn't make records like that much in the 1960s, so why? It's not our style. We wouldn't do that.
Okay, yes.
We really try and stay true to the 60s.
All that visually and
Yeah.
sonically.
But
Yeah.
sonically, we have to admit when we listen back to it, there's a lot of 77 punk that's
Yeah.
in that
Yes,
too,
of
because
course.
we were very much into those groups. And like my brother loved the Buzzcocks, so on the first record, if you listen to the drumming, it's all like sounds like Buzzcocks, because that's what he liked at the time.
And this is good because the weakest part of many 60s records, garage records, is usually the drumming and the bass are kind of bad, not very good. So it's good to have other influences to, toughen up the sound a little.
Yeah.
So visually, you have this influence of, I think, this kind of B movies, 60s B movies maybe, cartoons maybe.
Always very much.
Especially for us,
For-
cartoons, yes.
The Flintstones.
Flintstones.
Okay.
Pica
Pica
Piedras.
Piedras. Yeah.
So your name came from
Nah.
Sí.
Yes.
characters from that
Yeah.
The
cartoon
neighbors.
show,
Sí.
Yeah,
I think.
that's right.
Los Gruesones.
And what about your equipment? I think it's important have like that kind of vintage
Well,
equipment, or no matter really.
I think we are most successful, or we're most interested in the 60s creative approach, and as for vintage gear and tech, we are less interested than other bands.
Yeah. Like Jerry plays like a normal Telecaster. It's not a crazy.
American style.
It's not a crazy vintage 1960s $10,000 guitar.
I played with a transistor amplifier on all Gruesome's records,
Yeah.
and my fuzz pedal is a Boss DS1, and I
It's
still use
It's
it.
like the pedal that like every heavy metal band played in like 1981.
The DS1 is the most common selling pedal. It's what they did in Nevermind,
Boss distortion.
Nirvana. Anyway, yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I use.
it's-
So we're not really big into 60s.
But we're into
gear.
getting the sound the same. So it's important for us that it sounds 60s. Like when we produce records, we don't want a very modern production. We try and maintain a 60s clean sound.
Yeah.
A good 60s sound.
Standard 60s rock and roll is what we shoot for.
okay.
Vox amped.
Yeah.
Vox amps are great though.
Yeah.
That's it, Vox
Yeah,
amps.
that's awesome. He has the
And,
Vox amp.
Bobby's
Yeah.
been playing the same Rickenbacker for like 35 years.
So there's some good ones.
And do you remember how did you get that gear, that instruments?
He bought it
It
off
was.
a dentist.
A dentist got married, and his new wife said, "You have to sell your guitar now." So he said, "Okay." So he sold it to me for $500 in a case.
500
Canadian dollars, which
That's
is
like
less than American money.
350 American
Yeah.
dollars. And he has the same guitar now.
And the same pedal, that Boss DS1 from 1986, using the same
Wow,
pedal and the same guitar.
great.
Yeah, and it's the same idea and the same music, the same set list. If you come to our shows, you hear the same song played with the same guitar through the same pedal from 1986.
And on the records too.
Yeah, and on the records too. We're actually here. You'll see it.
So you, I think the recording process was the same in at least at these 3 first albums, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And how?
Well, Tyrants was a little more low, wasn't it? 8-track or something?
Yeah, the first record was
More
8
primitive.
track, and the next 2 were 24.
And all this stuff came from that label from your town.
Og.
Okay. And
Yeah, that's, excuse me, that is the name of the label in question, Og. O-G.
great, great.
Maybe
So, when you release these 3 albums, and did you get some kind of popularity?
Well, we started with a
in
single.
Montreal?
We started with the first single, Tyrant Sortie, not Tyrant, that's the first album, Jack the Ripper, and I think it started pretty much from there.
Yes.
Yes, so it would have gone to
Took off.
usually when we put out records, it would go to the top of campus and university radio, which was the closest we had to an underground.
Yeah, there was no
Media?
underground
There was no
media. So the closest would be every university would have a radio station, like in Ottawa,
CKCU.
They would play our records,
Yeah.
and so when we went to Ottawa, the people that heard us at the university would go to see us play. So most of our audience was what we call college kids. They weren't
Okay.
garage nerds. They weren't people who knew other garage bands.
They just wanted to drink beer and party.
Yeah, and I also would like to say that the alternative radio that they would play at the time, that would play the Gruesomes on those college radio, would also be playing other alternative bands like U2 and REM, who became like big bands. But at
Yes.
the time, it was all this.
It was all underground. Gruesome's
underground.
REM, you do
It was
whatever.
all
you know.
underground music.
Yeah.
In the 80s in Canada, it's like anyone playing anything different, everybody would go.
Okay, and how do you start to play outside Canada? and
We
outside-
did not. Effectively, we spent our entire lives within Canada, which is why it is surprising to hear how many people know our music outside of Canada, because almost all our touring and live appearances and record distribution and all those things was within our country, where we rose to a level of medium popularity. Not super high, but medium high, to appear on television and on the radio and to be kind of known. Outside of Canada, no. So we would play in New York.
Yeah, we played New York City a few times, Washington D.C., and whenever those groups from New York, like the Chesterfield Kings or Fuzztones, would come to Montreal, we'd play with them. So when we went to New York, they'd play with us there. But we didn't play outside of Canada until we did a tour of Germany in 2000.
2000?
Yeah, so
2001.
all of what we're talking about till now is, 1985 to 1989, the initial first period of the band. And then
All that first period was all in Canada.
all Canada
All-
except a
What's
few
the-
shows in the United States, in the Northeast, in
Yeah.
Maine, in New York City,
I mean,
very few.
We played till
really-
92, right?
Well,
we
not
never
consistent.
really had an idea that people knew our records outside
Zero.
of Canada. So after when we stopped playing, we would get emails like, "Can you come play?" We're like,
What?
We're not a band.
Yes, I think I would like to add very carefully. I think it's important that we only thought of ourselves as a band from Canada and would never think really that there was any reason to go to Europe or Mexico or even much in the United States.
Yeah, in the 80s we had this idea that like if people, you should go to Europe, and we had this idea that like we'd be playing in Germany and there'd be like 3 people in the audience that hated us.
You know, and then we get
Like,
beaten up by
and then we
skinheads.
then skinheads would beat us. Like we didn't think that we could go. It wasn't.
And I didn't think that anyone would be interested in my
Yeah.
Canadian band
Yeah.
anywhere. Why? Why would you listen to me? There's a world of music everywhere. Why this thing?
It's
It's
really-
I was happy in Canada to do that, but I never thought anyone else outside my country would.
And
Yeah.
it's
Even
really
here.
only 2018 we played Fantastic Dracula. 2016.
17?
18, guys.
No, 2017.
Oh, sorry.
2017 we played the Fantastic Dracula Carnival in Benidorm in España.
Okay.
And it was huge. And like we played well, people loved us, and it was like we went there and people were like talking to us, and how did they know
How
who
did
we
they know?
are?
Yeah.
How did they know we are?
We did a record in 2000, Cave-In. We came back after
Mhm.
a spell,
So
our first break.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then we toured Europe back then too. So
Okay.
But that was
And
that was
what you break at that first time?
the first time, well, I think there was less interest in guitar bands back then or something. I
well,
don't know.
why did we split up in the
No,
80s?
no.
Yes.
That you said it. There was the only commercial music at the time was synthesizers before Nirvana changed the world.
Yeah.
So there was no way in a million years that anyone would play a gruesome song on the radio. So, and of course,
yeah.
it's tough, you know. So
And-
It was,
We were
we're on
doing
the
well.
ground.
we were
on the
doing
ground.
very
We
well.
were doing well in our little world in Canada, and the next step would have been, who knows, playing hundreds of shows in little tiny places in the United States to try and build a following. It just, we didn't see any point in it.
And
It was,
Yeah.
most importantly, there was, because we had reached a certain level that was higher than most bands would reach, there was a lot of pressure to sort of become more commercial and to change the sound a bit, or maybe, and like, oh, you guys, if you just, you know, had a different sound, you could maybe be on the radio. It's like, but this was not interesting to us. We would rather not play than change what
Right.
we do.
And furthermore, I didn't believe it.
Yeah, I didn't believe it either.
It's like you're crazy. Like, that's stupid.
No.
We'll never be commercial.
we had people approach us, well-known producers would say, you guys would be okay, you know, different vocal sound. And we're like, well,
But that is
that's
our-
our sound, what are you talking
Yes,
about?
yes.
It-
Yeah, if you could just fire Bobby, you guys
Please do. Only right now.
But I have to point out at this point that Bobby is the primary songwriter in the band, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you wouldn't get all those songs that sound exactly like all those other '60s songs if I wasn't here.
But yeah, we broke up because